Welcome to the Grand Iron, the Mastermind Club, G12. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, my name is Al Bashir Mohammed. I am a social worker, a business person, also a part-time activist on human rights and social works and economic and social rights to be specific. I'm also specialized in early warning systems that involve data collection, analysis, and situation and incident, reports analysis for early warning system. And this is a security analysis that, in one way or the other, help us understand the trends of incidents to situation and be able give us an insight on how to plan in crime prevention and for security management. I'm not a government official. I don't work with the national government of the Republic of Kenya. For some time, used to facilitate as a volunteer, as an independent consultant in one way or the other, validating some of the works that involve the youths and young people, involvement in peace and security. I've also played a critical role in supporting the recruitment process for the young, the African champion, the peace champions, where we came up with, for the first time, with youth ambassadors from all regions. And we are glad that we got a Kenyan representative as a youth peace ambassador. And the process was also backed by the enactment or maybe the appointment of the first youth envoy in the African Union. Now, I'm addressing you this evening on 19th Friday, 2024 of July, when exactly after the national government, the NPS, National Police Services, announced the ban of, the protest. I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to congratulate the young people for expressing their voice. I also want to, in the process, equally condemn those who blended themselves in the right movement and tried to destroy properties and also, participate in criminal activities like robbing and stealing and disorder. I also want to congratulate the National Police and those men in uniform who are patient, who stood firm and protecting those who are doing the peaceful protest, but also condemn those who used excessive force, not being professional, those who participated in the abduction and all the illegal acts, including the number of people who died. Of course, investigation is critical and it has to take place. Therefore, we cannot speculate deeper into some of the deaths we've seen. We want the government to expend all the resources available to ensure that we have all the information and accountability of all those who passed away. Of course, this is different from those who we have witnessed that they were actually shot by the police. Now, I want to go back to the Gen Zs. I think I'm millennial because I'm 31 years old. I'm a father, but I have that spirit of Gen Z because during my age, maybe I didn't have the opportunity to do what we are doing. So we skipped some stages, and you have given us an opportunity to reason, to participate in a revolution. Now, I want to mention three issues that are very critical. Some of you, Gen Zs, you are participating in a revolution based on your challenges and your own awakening. So this has, in one way or the other, sparked an innovation on how to struggle for your right. And it has come as a surprise. It has come ahead of many institutions that, of course, the government is saying has sponsored you. It is clear that what you have done has come before the sponsorship. From the analysis, the sponsorship of course came. A number of civil society organizations, they have a duty of supporting, and they have a budget for that, supporting civil society and civil society organization that participate in picketing, and also most importantly protest. They have that duty, and they are funded to do that because it's a democratic value. So there's nothing harmful or wrong for any institution to sponsor medical support, because they cannot go there for free, to sponsor lawyers so that they can be able to pay for your immediate release, maybe through bond and all that. This is why the civil society exists. They can also support organizations like what the organization you have seen. They can also support prominent activists that are known for this work. This is some of their mandate, and they have a legal framework to do this. They are not supporting violent extremism and protest that is not peaceful, or any regime change. They don't do that. They actually support activities that are within the law. And you might be able to notice a number of individuals, the way they organize themselves, they participate in the protest, they say their message, it's captured in the media, or they do petition, then they leave immediately. Very organized. And those are some of the people who might claim they have smartphones and they go to hotels to have their meals. Some people are sponsored to participate in these activities. Some people are sponsored to report and record the activities, and this is one of the mitigating strategies to ensure that violation of rights don't take place during those processes. The world has changed. People are proactiveness is in its highest point. So there's nothing wrong with institution playing part in this. What I need to address here is what we are doing as Gen Zs. Now, Gen Z, I want to relate what we are doing to the phenomenon. There's nothing new with the approach and the characteristic of how you do things. There's nothing new. Of course, the history is repeating itself. I'm giving you a bad example on how institution like Al-Shabaab started. Al-Shabaab, what is the meaning of Al-Shabaab? Al-Shabaab means the youth. So most of the time when I talk about violent extremism, I normally consider how beautiful an institution like Al-Shabaab started. It started very peaceful and organized, but it reached a certain level where it was now sponsored by people who were more serious about, they had some critical issues that they want to do, and they took away that brand and made it a rebellious movement that was first fighting for the rights of the Somali people. I had some interruption in the first clip where I was recording about trying to do some comparative analysis between the establishment of an organization, which I didn't want to use it as an example because of what it is right now, but at the elementary stage on what it was and what it ended up being. And I was mentioning about the Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab is like, for example, you can picture this. I know we Gen Zs have watched a number of movies where you see scenarios repeat itself. Something which happened in the maybe 20 years ago is happening now, and it influences what is going to come back after 20 years. So I want you to picture this into this theater play. What Gen Z is doing right now is people are coming up together to stand for their right, to call for revolution, and they are leading the way for the other generation, like the millennials or myself, people like Calligraph Jones, those who started the process, and those who are very powerful in the beginning, like Boniface Mwangi. It's a new generation that is coming out. It's innovative, very energetic, but it does not it is not immune. It does not guarantee that it will survive the process that we have seen in the development of other institutions or movement like Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, and Al-Qaeda. And this is a bad example, but I'm using this to caution us and to tell us and to remind us that there is a possibility that you should not ignore. A good thing can be turned to dangerous. And I will explain how we need to be careful. One, the name Al-Shabaab is equal to youth. That's the meaning of Al-Shabaab, the youth, the young people, the new generation, the new spirit. The ideology was that the young people of Somalia, they need to wake up and correct this government. And this was after a struggle. Like we used to have a struggle before. Somalia had a struggle. I'm giving you a comparative analysis. This is the best time to talk about this because we have not reached any stage. We are at the 1% stage, so we still have many years, and this is the best time to plan alternatively. Somalia, like Kenya, they fought for independence, and the colonial master, they were sharing these two nations. And some of the conflicts we have today was as a result of poor judgment of the colonial administration, because they wanted to distribute our land the way they wanted. It was a plain land, and they used their own geographic analysis to, divide the northeastern part, the northern part, north-south. This place is dry, should be Somalia, part of Somalia is in Kenya, and all that. So there was a lot of problems in how they were dividing the land, because there was a scramble and petition, and you know this in history. And they came up with their own resolution and decided to share. And there was fight among themselves. They were killing each other, and our grandfathers and the forefathers were used as foot soldiers. My grandfather was in the 80s and 70s and the 50s. He was a young person, and he was in Wajir. He was employed as a local security to protect the airstrip, to make sure no animals defecates in that area, and also to make sure that they are helping the police to clear that area from any animal intervention, so that when the plane lands, we don't have donkeys sitting those time. And they were commanded to wear shorts and all that, and they were trained on using traditional arms, like even the arrows and all that. They were trained, and they were given instruction, and they were paid like maybe 1 shilling a month. Some of them you were giving ndururu and 50 cent, things like that. 3 shillings if you have in a month, then you're a very rich person, because you can even buy goods. That is the generation. So the scramble and petition involved our grandfathers who were captured as slaves. They arrest you, they abduct you, and then they look at you and they see you're strong. You are forced to be a soldier. So you must be a soldier, and if you have a wife, the colonial master or the chief will take care of your wife. That, you know what that means. So those were the times when our grandfathers were used as soldiers to fight against Somalia, and that history left some serious boundaries issues after the independence. So after that, what happened? The Somalian administration and Kenya, those who inherited independence after that, they still wanted to claim some part of that land. Of course, everything was done. There was a reconciliation, and the United Nations was part of it. Everything is sealed. People fight for your land. They agree on how they can petition, and they fixed a decision that you cannot change. So after colonial, we still had a problem between the former president as Kenyatta and Siad Barre, and that's when you saw Kenneth Kaunda was also part of the mediation. There was, in that generation, people fought for the boundaries, and that fighting brought about some treaties and so many things that happened. And you also know when during the time of Kibaki, we saw the eruption of people fighting and some part of the sea. Kenya was claiming this is ours. This was a conflict that we inherited, problems that were created. So even today, the people there, they believe from Somalia to where the Tana River Bridge is, it was part of the Somalia. And this was ideology which was also inherited by Siad Barre himself. He said that bridge that you see there where Tana River is, from there, and you can see the vegetation, the arid area, from there to Somalia was Somalia. That was the position. And they said it was the British who came here and took it from us. So you can remember how difficult it can be to solve such an issue, because they say yes, it was ours, it was taken by the British, and the Italians fought, and we were denied our right. So this was something which still had issues. And because of this, I remember we had so many problems, people living in Wajir, Garissa and Mandera. People never trust the citizen there, because sometimes getting an ID was difficult, because people were suspecting, which side are you? Are you still supporting the Somalia, that where you are is part of Somalia, or are you a Kenyan? So some people were mixed. Some people were Kenyans but believe where they are was Somalia. And some people were Kenyans because they were born there and they believe this is not Somalia, this is Kenya. So you can imagine a history that you have inherited. So people struggled for that fight and they didn't do very well. So the Al-Shabaab, they came up with a new narrative, and they said, to hell with America, to hell with British, we want our country wherever it can be here, it can be there. We are Muslims, 99%. Want the government, the Zakayo of that time, Ashuke. So they came up with that narrative and they decided now they can do it by themselves. These are youths. So when a group of scholars who had some hidden agendas and they never got the right time and energy to use it, they had funding, because when you want to do a rebellious, maybe you want to initiate a regime change, I'm telling you, there are so many people who are ready to support that, because they know this. If you support you and you win, then they will have a way of benefiting from your government. When those elders saw the Al-Shabaab and the youth coming up so strong, they decided to invest in that. They decided to guide them and show them how to do it. And they never knew where funding came from. So something like that happened and it took over, and they knew, these people, they have an ideology that is related to the religion. They want to combat their country, to fix it, and they said, if all the democracy and all this failed, why don't we use the Quran? Because we are all Muslim. Oh, so somebody who understands the Quran better than them told them, now this is how it's going to be done. And they were immediately declared as an institution. Funded came from nowhere, and they are now trained to be militaries. Within a short period of time, they started ruling some part of Somalia. So that is how problems started. Now the government, because it is connected to the international community, it has a treaty with the UN. They say there's another alternative government that is formed, and they have declared that they are going to use the Quran. They have their own flag. They are taking over Somalia within few months. So what next? We need to stop now fighting within ourselves, and we need an international community to intervene. That situation like that, we will see now. You have a right to call for America, all that. So many people now started. Now we are going to help the government build its capacity against this organization. So when people started fighting, and a group of Al-Shabaab died, a group of community died, the police now they were shooting, and these people started possessing weapons in the name of defending their rights. They fell into the trap of the characteristic of terrorists that was already declared. So once it was declared that whatever the activities they are doing is related to what the law calls terrorism, they were declared terrorist organization. And once that was done, declaration of elimination and all that started. And that is where we now saw the Al-Shabaab. Now when it reaches a situation like that, all the youths now, they were given their space. Where is your space? You are now a mujahid. Your work befits the energy of dying. You go to fight, you will die, and you will go to paradise. Those who have the capacity to deal with such complex situation because of their experience, they started now dividing each other, forming their own system. Now it became another thing. So the struggle became so difficult to handle, to an extent that the international communities from both sides, the international community of the terrorists and the international community of the United Nations and the allies, started. So we have two forces fighting something which started as human right. That is what we have right now. The same thing in Sudan, which has its own complexity, but majority of the people who are fighting are young people. In fact, they are younger than the Gen Z. What are they fighting for? Their rights. They are fighting for right to electricity, right to education, to live. They need to know what the government is doing. They want accountability. But the approach they used was hijacked by another group of people that could not do it better than them, and they end up become a servant of those people. And now the country is fighting endlessly. Billions of money is being used in that. Now, do you think we have an exception in Kenya? No. Actually, I can give you some of the indicators that can show you from my experience in early warning. We have the best opportunity of entering into a very similar trap. Now look at this situation. We have people, and I'm sorry to say this, we have the opposition leaders. The opposition of this country fought for this presidency for many years. They never had an opportunity to put their president in power. Raila Amolo Odinga was supported by Uhuru the other time, and they failed. Whether they failed or not, I don't know. It's not my analysis, but Raila did not become a president. They demonstrated, they did what they could do. They declared that this Nini was stolen. Even today, a number of people, they believe Ruto is not the president of this country. They cannot say that. They still believe he got into power by stealing, and therefore he should go. So they fought him, but they could not continue with the fight because of some other pressures and in the international community, and considering their state, they cannot go further. So people started looking for other opportunities in reconciliation, going to the division of power, and going to the AU and all that. The president of the republic, former president Uhuru, is not a happy man about what is happening. You had another statement the other time where he was denied his dues, and therefore immediately after, you could remember what happened, what the president did, summoning his people, going to his son's house, looking for guns and all that tension. All this should be kept aside as early warning information. So we have this former president who is not happy with the president. We have another group that were denied opportunities. We have another group that wanted to take him away, declare him not a president, but they cooled down. So we have a group of people that want Ruto to go more than you think you want. And they have all the reason, because they have lost business, they have lost so many things. In fact, you said you have nothing to lose. But we have people who have lost and they want to recover. So if there's any opportunity they can use to remove this president and take over, then they will be ready to do everything to achieve that. This is the situation you must consider. Now, what capacity do we have as Gen Z to deliver our agenda of Ruto must go in a very creative way, to an extent that when this Ruto must go reach a level whereby we are supposed to defend it and fight for it, and it is a level whereby Ruto is now going, when it reaches that level, what capacity do we have to mitigate it so that we can inherit whatever is going to come out when he goes? How are you going to defend it, to defend that agenda to an extent that he goes, you achieve what you want, and you protect the transition to an extent that you have your own president and the country continues to become peaceful, and you have a peaceful country with its economy without the infiltration and intervention of the enemies, and without even the involvement and the disruption of powerful people like the opposition, ODM, all of the opposition, the former president and his agenda. All politicians have agendas. How are you going to mitigate that? Because it will reach a point where you will dismantle everything, and now it is an opportunity. Now it's time. Now Ruto is dismantling, is going. How are you going to make sure that you will protect that space so that you will inherit it as Gen Z, or put whoever you want against the people who wanted the same thing before you. I hope you get what I'm saying. You remove Ruto, for example, through your own means, and of course it's going to be difficult, it's going to be messy, people will die. Now the transition, how are you going to protect it from the interference of the opposition? And this is critical because you have declared that you are not working for the opposition. Of course, this is a new blood, you are innocent from all the forces. Are you going to take it to where you want it, or it will be hijacked by the opposition because they wanted it more than you? This is one of the early warning indicators that you need to consider. That is one. Two, if, for example, we want to throughoutly fight for throughout the revolution, we have to consider all what we want to be achieved. And the only approach we have is to go to the street. And when we go to the street, you have to confront the police. Maybe the police are not comfortable with our rights. They don't want us to enjoy our rights. Two things to consider. How are you going to do it so peaceful to an extent that you will develop capacities and vigilance to prevent your operations from the intervention of criminals of your age? Those who steal in the supermarket, those who go to destroy other people's property, those who are maybe sent or not, go out there to destroy the lives of people. Now, if the Ruto must go agenda is yours, then you must decide where you are taking it, where you're starting, and what you want next. If you know that you are going to create an enabling environment for the opposition and those who wanted that more than you, it will reach a point where you will remove Ruto, if you can, through all means, through the damage and whatever will come out. Then the fruits of your commitment will be taken by those who are more standby than you in inheriting the Ruto must go agenda. If you know that you have no capacity to prevent the interference of opportunist criminal in your peaceful protest, then your action, your peaceful and innocent action, will eventually dismantle the capacity of the police, because the police will have to overwork, making sure they protect you against yourself and to protect themselves against you, and at the same time making sure that you're within the law. What will happen? Those who are criminal, the criminal-minded Gen Zs, and there are so many, who are not sent but they have seen millions of money, they want to steal the money, you cannot stop them. The police will be forced to deal with them who are inside you, and at some point the police will do mistakes. And when they do mistakes because of their error, because of lack of capacity maybe, they might destroy you in the name of criminals that are there. Third or fourth, do you have the capacity to convince a group of you, a number of you, a population of you that are ready and interested to be funded? For example, if I say I'm going to bring 500 million, I want to sponsor 50% of the Gen Z to do exactly what you are doing, but at my benefit. Are you going to convince that 50% or 40% not to engage, not to be funded? Because if they are funded, they will be doing whatever their master will say, and there are so many people who are ready to do that. Can you mitigate the process? Do you have the capacity to influence the 100% of you, making them ready to fight in accordance to your agenda? If you know that you cannot control your masses and influence them to do one single thing without playing to the tune of those who have money, then there is high chance and it is inevitable that you will be divided and you will be used by people who want the fruit of your commitment. And this is why I believe you should not condemn the police ban of the protest. You should try to have an insight and try to use this opportunity to reflect and think again on how are you going to drive this agenda that we share, protect it from the virus of the political classes, and we know them. You also need to consider and analyze if there is anything else you can do with the sitting president between now and 2027 that will make sure that he is in government but responding to what you think is important, that this option is possible. Because when we went to the parliament, of course, we paid the price when we saw bad things happen. Immediately, for the intention of protecting the nation, the president dropped what we are fighting for. And remember what we were saying, we don't want anything else now. We just want the finance bill to go. The finance bill is already gone. Second thing, he did what we did not, we just said it. We one of the things we said, remove all your people. We believed and we thought, we knew he was not going to do that, but he did it. Once he did that, what does it show you? He has corrected his own team. Shut them off. Now, who is taking advantage? As you have seen, some of the indicators that I said, immediately when the cabinet was dropped, when he declared that, the opposition came back. Remember, Raila was supposed to go to the AU. He came back immediately. Why? He saw an opportunity. Now there's an opportunity from Katenusu. This person was refusing 50-50 government. The cabinet is shut down. Now, who everybody is now saying, the other governor is talking about we need 8 CS. We don't know what the opposition said. Immediately, the opposition came up with some agendas during the negotiation. They want the IBCC to be established. What are you reading from that? What I'm reading is that people are waiting for you to prepare the meal. And when you put the food on table, it will be hijacked from you and you will be the one to blame. Now, I'm not even to blame. You will be celebrated, Gen Z, they do that, but you will never eat the fruits of your work. Now, the issue of extremism has a number of levels. Those people who are wise and those who understand the 48 laws of power, when you strike a fight, you should know when to retreat. Because if you don't, you might force the forces to quickly reorganize, and we might bring back the coalition between the government and the opposition. And when that happens, I can assure you, you will have nothing to inherit and you have nothing to gain from it. The opposition is not for us. The opposition is another political class that is 90% economical and maybe 1% social, and the rest I don't know. If God has used us to come out and mention these things, we must be very careful, and we sometimes, and most of the time, we need to listen to institutions that are independent. You need to also have some insight about how they operate. We need also to listen to the president and to know that this is a human being that has a characteristic that is better than so many other presidents. This is a president who is very quick in making mistakes, but very quick in correcting it. Some presidents, when they do mistakes, a simple thing you tell the president to do, they will never do it. It's better for a country to ban, but they can never change their laws. But the president we have is a president who makes mistakes very quickly. Maybe he is over-ambitious, but he corrects himself very quickly. And we saw him. I've never seen a president crying because of a mistake. This means he's a person who is still fresh. Yani, the heart is ijakoma to that extent, and he has learned from some previous mistakes. I want to call upon the Gen Zs. I don't care, the millennials who are supporting this after the Gen Zs. You must listen to the elders. Listen to your parents. You are safe because they are praying for you. Sometimes you need to retreat and listen. And also let people listen to you. Let's have some dialogue. You don't need leaders, okay? You don't need a leader, but let the process absorb what you have done. And if you are dealing with this process, you're dealing with this regime, then it is only the president of this country who should listen to you. Because if you remove the equation, the transition is going to be a war that you might not be able to protect. You cannot mitigate the fruits. It will be taken away by some people. I want to thank you very much. I'm going to be to do another video that is specific on what we need to do. I don't care, maybe some people might think I'm sent around, but I'm talking about something which is very clear. Sometimes we need to listen and we need to change our game. Otherwise, you might prepare something so good and you will never have time to eat that fruit, because there are people who are doing this before you and they are just waiting for the time to arrive. They will take away they will take away everything, and you will still go back to square one, fighting the new regime that will come out of your struggle. Try to take them out and it will be too late, because the person you will have removed or you want to remove will partner with that person and you will still be crying.
Welcome to the Grand Iron, the Mastermind Club, G12.